the News Channel 5 network, this is MorningLine with Nick Barris.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on MorningLine. I am Nick Barris. It is Monday. I hope you had a good weekend. We're getting things off to a rousing start. We're going to invite you to join in the conversation this morning as we talk about guns, all right? Guns in Tennessee, the laws on the books in Tennessee. I invite you to join and share your thoughts on the issue. Obviously, it's a big Second Amendment state. As many of you probably know, Governor Lee has announced an administration bill which would allow law-abiding citizens in Tennessee to carry a handgun without a permit if they are over 21 years of age. And between you and I know many of you who are gun owners maybe are very clear on the laws as they stand here in the state of Tennessee. To me, I find them a little bit confusing, and how this will play into everything else that's on the books. We'll get into that and what effect this may have on gun ownership in the state, and you're invited to join in the conversation. I want to say that we've got John Harris from the Tennessee Firearms Association coming on in the not too distant future. We're doing separate shows on this because people have different opinions on this. With us this morning from Safe Tennessee Project is Beth Joslin Roth. Good morning to you, Ms. Roth.
Good morning.
It's nice to have you on.
Yeah, nice to be here.
She's been on before, and we've talked about these gun issues. And all right, I kind of laid it out, and it is confusing for some. I think in Tennessee, if you want a gun and you're a law-abiding citizen, it's already pretty accessible to you. You can do it and get the gun, and no big deal.
Yeah, that's correct. So in the state of Tennessee, if you want to purchase or possess a gun, if you buy a gun from a licensed dealer, you undergo a background check. But of course, we don't mandate background checks for all gun sales. So if you buy from a private seller, you can purchase a gun without a background check.
Like at a gun show or something like that, maybe? Or
licensed dealers at gun shows actually do require. But there are private sellers at gun shows that will sell you a gun without a background check. That's how I purchased a gun. I purchased a gun from a private seller.
What if I just want to buy a gun from my neighbor?
No background check is required for that. And that's the law. And so you can purchase a gun in that way, and you can be in possession of a gun in your home or in your vehicle without having to have any type of a permit.
Right.
As the law stands right now in Tennessee, if you're going to carry your gun in public, if you're going to carry your gun out in public, you are required to have a permit. Now in Tennessee, we have currently a bifurcated permitting system. You can obtain what is now referred to as an enhanced carry permit, which was the gun permit that we've had in existence for a long time. To obtain that permit, you undergo a background check, and you go through an 8-hour training class that includes 4 hours of range training. That's to obtain an enhanced carry permit. Last year, the legislature passed a new type of permit that is called now called a concealed carry permit. To obtain a concealed carry permit, you undergo a background check. There are a number of training things that you can do, including just watching a 90-minute video on the internet to obtain the concealed carry permit. The concealed carry permit is just like the enhanced carry permit, except that you are required to carry concealed, and you are not allowed to carry concealed with the concealed carry permit on a college campus.
Okay.
That's the existing permitting system that we have right now. You are not required to have a permit in the state of Tennessee to have a gun. However, some states require that. Some states require. Illinois, for example, requires that you have either a permit or a firearm owner's identification card.
So permitting in Tennessee is basically coming into play if you choose to carry it with you. But if you have it in your car or your home, you don't need one.
Correct.
Now, what the governor then is proposing is just having the way it stands for in your car or your home all the way across the board.
That's correct.
That you could just have it. You would be able to carry a concealed weapon without having a permit.
Correct. And that means also that you would be able to theoretically be carrying a concealed weapon in public and have purchased that gun without a background check. And then there are also a lot of questions about what authority law enforcement has in terms of if they see someone carrying a gun out in public, even if they think that person might look suspicious or might look like they might be up to no good, there are going to be certain limitations as to what law enforcement can even do to approach that person about their firearm.
Okay. So your take on this, is there a concern here from your perspective? And what would that be?
Of course, there's a serious concern from my perspective, and it's not just my perspective, it's largely the perspective of law enforcement and district attorneys that have come out vehemently opposed to this
As well as,
legislation.
gun safety instructors, many of them I've seen have been, kind of apprehensive about this.
Absolutely. I think that you can support the Second Amendment and fully embrace Second Amendment rights, but also have concerns about people carrying loaded guns in public who may or may not be proficient with their weapon, who may or may not be someone that has demonstrated any skills or ability with a firearm. In Tennessee, you can carry guns lots of places. If you are out with your family, if you're at a restaurant, you're at a park, you're outside, you're down on Broadway, wherever, there's some concern that someone carrying a loaded gun near you may or may not know how to handle it properly. And I think that's where the concern comes from firearm instructors.
Do you think people actually go out and buy guns and just say, well, I decide I want protection, and just go buy a gun one day with no thinking on their own and no training, just buy that gun, come home, maybe take a few shots out back, say I'm ready to go, and do that on their own?
I do think that there are some people that do that. Now, to be fair, I think that the majority of gun owners are generally pretty responsible, and they take the responsibility of owning a gun seriously. That's why we've seen so many gun owners sort of pipe in, both last year and this discussion about this concealed carry permit that had a much lower requirement for training. And then they've also expressed some reservations about this permitless carry idea as well, because most responsible gun owners do take that idea that you need to be trained seriously. But there will be some that won't.
Talk about what kind of training it is. I'm just curious to the degree. I've seen some of this, and we've done stories on it, but I have to be honest with you, even the training that's in place right now, you think about all the training police officers go through and the way they find themselves in situations with shootouts, and even these officers who are well trained aren't on spot shooting the gun. They're missing or whatever, because it's real hard to do it under stress. The average Joe going and getting this background training and stuff doesn't make me feel all that much better, to be quite honest with you, because I think they're still going to screw it up if they have to pull the gun under an incredibly stressful situation. I know I would. So I just don't, does the training make that big a difference? I understand background checks maybe to make sure you don't have some felon buying a gun, but does the training, just as you said, whether you're watching a video or 8 hours of training, if that's all they do and they don't practice on their own beyond that, is that honestly going to make a difference?
Well, I think it's certainly better than no training. And you bring up a good point.
Well, I think the training can give people false confidence. Oh, I had 8 hours. I can do whatever. So I'm not sure it's necessarily better.
Well, I would disagree with that, because I feel like any training, any training that you're getting is going to be better than no training. You do bring up a good point, though. What we have seen is that there was a study done looking at NYPD, right? Probably one of the best trained law enforcement agencies in the country. And what they found was that in situations where officers were in shootout situations, right? Like anybody can be at a range when they're calm,
right,
take aim and shoot. But when they're actually being shot at, that their hit rate was around 30 to 40%, which is concerning, because, as you mentioned, there will be people that have false confidence. And I think what we see, and you see it in a lot of the rhetoric, is people have this idea that just having a gun on them is going to somehow equip them if there was something to go down, if there was an active shooter, if something like that was to happen, that in a situation like that, that they're going to have the clarity of mind to draw their weapon and take out the shooter. It's maybe not super likely that would happen, but the general consensus is that some training is certainly better than no training. And in the concealed or in the enhanced, what is now the enhanced carry permit training, a large part of that training is on the gun laws in the state, and situations where you can draw your weapon, when you can fire on someone, when you can't, really what the Castle Doctrine means, and that's information that people really need to have and understand. The training also goes over basic gun safety, the things that you really need to be aware of if you're going to have a gun. Just basic gun safety precepts, and a lot of people, I'm afraid, are going to think that they don't necessarily need to get that training if they know they can carry without having to get
They'll
it.
just go buy it, carry it, and go their merry way. So,
Yes.
all right, listen, we'll take a break. We've got a lot more to talk about, more of the numbers there and more of the other issues going on with guns as well. And take your phone calls. What do you think? 737-7587. We'll take a break. Be back with more right after this.